think around the third time, the conversation started to get complicated. I mean, I guess I don't really know how many times your house can burn down before the complicated conversations start. So people watch a lot of TV in small towns. There's not really anything else to do. Law and Order, SVU, CSI. My mum was obsessed, and we stayed up really late one night and we watched an episode of Criminal Minds. And there was this arsonist with OCD, and she had to do everything in threes. So I guess by the fourth fire, I had exceeded everyone's expectations. The first fire took us all by surprise. You see, house fires, they appear with no warning, and I'd never even considered what I might want to take in a mad panic. Photos, memorabilia, bits of me, and bits of you. Some of it was quite nice to watch burn. And I stood in my front garden in my dressing gown, and I was just smoke bellowing out from behind me. I was so scared, and I screamed, please, please, my house is on fire. I guess nothing can prepare you for what that feels like. For what that feels like to watch the thing that you lived inside collapse. Just completely give way. And the first time, the sympathy swelled and ebbed through the corridors of this small town. I mean, my house was on fire. The local newspapers, they ran a story on it. I saw the charred remains of my house on the front page for weeks. Local girl in tragic house fire survived in a small print. The community really came together to let me know that a house fire is an anomaly. It's probably just a dodgy electrical. I mean, it was potentially avoidable, but not your fault. Not my fault. So as a result, I was put up in a local hotel while my house was rebuilt by the caring community. Everybody knew my name. Everybody wished me well. I had secured a spot in everyone's prayers. Bags of clothes were left at my front door. Dinner arrived, hot still, from other people's dinner tables. A tragedy had occurred. An accident had taken place. But a community comes together. By the second fire, I had left my keys by the front door, alongside some photos, a ribbon for my hair, and a book left to me by my mother. All left there with this sense of fear and expectation. By the second fire, the neighbours came slower. But they came prepared. They came with jugs of water, with hoses plugged into garden taps, with comforts, with blankets, with cups of tea. We can't believe it, they cried. The girl with 2 house fires. Phenomenal, isn't it? Tragic, really tragic. And when the press came to town, they had all their answers prepared. Of course, yes, of course, we will be doing a fundraiser. Anything to help her get back on her feet. The local school will let her sleep overnight in the library. There's some bean bags. There's some creature comforts left over from the toddlers' and teachers' lunch. She'll be served breakfast in the local cafe, but I'm afraid this time I just don't think we can put you up in a hotel. We'll rebuild the house, of course, but the window, the one at the back, I don't think we can replace that. So we're going to have to board it up, which is better than nothing, isn't it? By the time the third house fire came, any surprise had gone out the window. I laid in the scalded grass and I wept. This time I had no photos in my hands. I had no ribbons clutched to my chest, and my blankets were still charred from the previous blaze. This time the neighbours watched from their windows. This time the conversation had shifted from the phenomenal and the tragic into the doubtful. You see, someone would have to be very unlucky to experience 3 house fires. But someone would have to be very, very, very lucky to survive 3 house fires. Luck. It's an interesting concept, isn't it? Because I didn't feel lucky after the 3rd fire. I didn't feel lucky. Because this time there was no tea. And this time there was no blankets. The fire raged and I could barely even summon up enough saliva to spit. My eyes would not cry and my skin would not sweat. A layer of ash formed over me. And within time, the neighbours had forgot that underneath I was still a person. A tragedy had just become someone else's normality. And I had become nothing more than a piece of burnt out garden furniture. Two days passed before I could bear to re-enter the hollow husk of the building. I passed through the concave of my front door and I dragged myself to the top of my staircase. Boarded up windows, burnt out carpets, an empty shell where once had been life. My life. I had lived here. I laid my head where once was a bed, and I slept. When the 4th fire came, any sense that I had, any smell, any taste, I had become accustomed. This time there were no alarms, there were no sirens. And through the blazing heat I pulled myself to the window, desperate for air, and I stuck my head out and I was surprised to find my neighbours, every single one of them just sitting on their front doorstep, just staring up at the inferno behind shielded eyes, the way you might steal a glance and eclipse. Too painful to see, too good to miss. I caught someone's eye and I screamed, "Please, please, my house is on fire!" But they knew. They could see me. A decision had been made.